seat? Would you like to stand?
I'm happy to stand. Yeah. I have copies of pretty much what I'm going to say here to hand out to everybody. I made, I think, 40 copies or 39, so I hope you may have to share. This is just a report on the Fire and EMS Committee and Town Board procedures so far, I guess I would say. So what I'm going to do to start with is just read you the letter that was given to the press at the Monday night meeting. We had a special meeting this past Monday night to present some information. So I'm going to quickly go through that letter, and then we're going to look at the comparisons. In this packet, there's also Bonnie Wilson's comments and the Kettle Moraine Fire District Chief's comments that were all presented Monday night. And I don't think a lot of you were there, so this is a quick recap. So the town of Palmyra, having been unsuccessful in attempts to negotiate a contract for fire and EMS protection with the village of Palmyra, and having been given notice on December 22nd, 2021, and again on January 6th, 2022, by the village president that the village would no longer provide such service after December 31st, 2022, and that the town must, and I quote, seek alternative sources of service for 2023 that came from the village. The town of Palmyra Fire and EMS Committee began exploring options. Our committee was made up of myself, Bonnie Wilson, Pete Sommerhauser, Jim Gallagher, and Dan Wilson. So we have spent 8 months exploring fire and EMS services across the state. We've been to numerous meetings, we've talked to other fire chiefs, and we've done an awful lot of reading. So this exploration led us to understand a whole lot about the current situation with fire and emergency medical services in Wisconsin today. The primary revelation being that small, standalone departments are simply no longer sustainable. Staffing is an issue everywhere. Expenses are an issue everywhere. So if we're to continue to receive the services that we deserve and have come to expect, we're going to have to adapt to and embrace change. And I understand nobody likes change. We all balk at it to start with. But change is coming. We can go with it, or we can be, as Kathy Weiss said in the newspaper, stuck in the mud. Recognizing this has resulted in forward-thinking communities all across the state consolidating or creating shared service agreements. As the committee came to understand this, we reached out to several of our neighboring communities who have done or are doing exactly this to see if they would be interested in serving the town of Palmyra. And I'll get off script a little bit here and say we went to Whitewater, who have very recently consolidated. It was said that they refused us. I think Mr. Sauter made that statement. Actually, they sent us an email asking for more information and said they were interested in serving us. However, having experience with Kettle Moraine, we really went that direction because we thought that would probably be the best, but we did send all of our information to Whitewater, and I believe that was early July that they contacted, late June or early July. So we went to Kettle Moraine and asked if they would be willing. We went many times. At first they were reticent. Finally we were able to convince them that the town of Palmyra was worth talking to, and that's what we've been doing. So I want to be really clear here because there have been a whole lot of rumors and a whole lot of castigations that they came to us trying to take us away from the village. That is absolutely untrue. They never approached us. We approached them. And, you know, as a town board member, I have a lot of sympathy with the village because it's really a struggle, and we can see they're struggling to finance this little standalone department. Unfortunately, their very stability depends on their one and only customer, which is us. They're strapped for money. We're all strapped for money. We have levy limits, but we have escalating costs. Unfortunately, unlike our more progressive neighbors, the villages of North Prairie and Eagle and the town of Eagle, the village of Palmyra is in no position to benefit from the economy of scale provided by being either a customer or a member of a consolidated fire and EMS district. They've been uninterested in doing this in the past. They've made no effort. They haven't reached out to anyone. The Town of Palmyra Board, and I hope most members, do not wish to accompany the village down this unsustainable path. It's our belief that a contract with a progressive, sustainable department well able to provide high-level, competent protection for the Town of Palmyra is the most reasonable and best option for our residents and will benefit all the municipalities involved. And so that was basically my talk on Monday night. If you have one of our little handouts here, you might go to the comparison of the contract that came along from the village. Finally, after they decided they weren't the only game in town, this spring they sent us a couple of offers. The last one we got on the comparison sheet, and I will just go down the comparison. The Kettle Moraine Fire District would give us a 5-year contract. The village offered 3. The annual cost for 2023 with Kettle Moraine would be $220,000. The village is offering a 3-year contract for $218,387, slightly less the first year, but in 2024, Kettle Moraine would be $226,600, a 3% increase. Their contract offer said never to go higher than 3%. The village wants an 8% increase, so we're already up to $235,858. In 25, Kettle Moraine would be $232,898. The village would be $247,651. And then in 26 and 27, with Kettle Moraine, we would get a 3% increase. So after the first year, Kettle Moraine would be substantially lower than the village. Then we go on down to staff reports. This price comparison, I think, speaks for itself. The staff reports have been an ongoing issue. Although they were required in the 2012 contract that we're currently working under, the village has consistently refused to provide us with a staff report. We don't know how many staff members they have. We have no idea what their training level is. All we know is they're still a basic department, even though the old volunteer department was an intermediate department, a step above that. They have never been able to get above a basic department. So we don't know what their staff is. The post on the latest Palmyra Community Facebook page probably explains the village's refusal. If you notice, they say the village has 6 budgeted full-time positions. 6 budgeted full-time positions. According to James Small's statement at a special village board meeting on June 29th, they do not have 6 filled full-time positions. So while they budgeted them, the people aren't there. The call reports are a replay of staff reports. In order to get a record of the number of calls into the town of Palmyra, we have to file a FOIA request with Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. Mr. Small's monthly reports to the town are generally the same. Quote, "We have been busy." We don't know how many calls they've had into the town, how many into the village, unless we go to the Sheriff's Department for a report. And the service guarantee is clear from Kettle Moraine. If you look at the thing, the village refuses to guarantee service for the town. They have said they will provide the same service provided within their own boundaries. So if they have no service, we get no service. And that is what happened in the first 5 years of the contract with Palmyra after the village pulled out of the volunteer department and created their own, and the town had to contract with them. So as they become more and more limited in their ability to retain or hire staff, and they admit that they're having a problem, the service will suffer, and we will suffer right along with them. Kettle Moraine has a fully functioning department, and I think it's going to be really, really important to look at their most recent situation. On August 24th, a few days ago, there was a rollover out here on Highway 59. The village responded. They needed an extraction to get the person out. They were unable to serve that. They had to call Kettle Moraine. Kettle Moraine came in with their extraction equipment and 10 people and got the woman out of the car and got her to the hospital. So as far as the village showing up, they talk about they they told us at the last board meeting, one of their representatives did, the police vehicle can arrive very quickly and staff can assess the situation while awaiting the ambulance. So if they're going to get here and they're going to assess the situation and you're bleeding and you're waiting for an ambulance, it might be better if you had the ambulance when you called. But that does not seem to be what happened Wednesday night, and I'm afraid that's a pretty good example of what's going to happen going forward. So I'll go back and tell you that our committee has spent 8 months. We've worked hard trying to do the best we can for this community. And the village is in a mess if we don't go with them. I understand that, but we're their only possible customer, and they claim they've tried to negotiate, but they never were interested until they thought we had an alternative. So unfortunately, there are people in our own community who have decided to get involved in interfering with any contract with Kettle Moraine, and Mr. Rowland is sitting right here. I don't see Ms. Tronka. Mr. Sauter is sitting here. They have spread stories, let's say, on the internet, on the Facebook page. I assume they're helping with these stories with things that were simply unprofessional. And they have also claimed that that it's going to be impossible for us to locate anything in the airport building. We have gotten verbal approval. We have not gotten a contract yet, a lease agreement, which we can get. They say it's going to take 6 to 12 months. That's not my understanding from talking to the head of the guy that I forget what he's called, but he's at the BOA, and I have spoken with him, and that's not the story I get from him. So I'm not sure who they were talking to at the Bureau of Aeronautics. But I want you to understand that these same people are the same people who supported the village annexation of the town-owned airport and town hall, and I don't think they have your best interest or our best interest, the town's best interest at heart. So I'm not going to start taking questions here today because I'm short on time and have another engagement. But if you have questions, my phone number and email address are on the first sheet. They're also on your webpage. So try to call me. If you don't get through, email me with your phone number, and I will be really happy to call you back and answer any questions you have. So that's where things sit right now. Thanks for your time, and if everybody didn't get a copy of this, you can also call me and I'll email you another copy.
Can that go on the website?
Winona, you weren't here when I introduced the board. I raved about you then, I rave about you now. Thank you. Boo. I thank you so much for the time and effort that you and the other members of the Fire and EMS Committee have put in on this worthy endeavor, this important endeavor.
Question. Since she took my name, I need to respond. Now.
No.
I do now. You're out of order.
No.
You are out of order.
I believe I saw the movie.
Okay.
And it was the judge and it was Al Pacino. And no, you are out of order. We are moving on
You've been
now.
called out.
We are moving on now to election results. So do you want to hear from Roland or do you want election results? I'll give you a choice. There you go. I am pleased to tell, I'm sorry?
Yes, you
Put
heard.
that on the camera.
You heard me.
Put it on the camera.
Yeah, kiss me.
I am very pleased to tell you that we had 148 votes. So I thank you for your turnout. I thank you for your interest. I believe most of those who voted stayed and got all the information that we have assembled for you, and I hope that you have found it worthwhile. The results of the election: Mark Nicholson, 97, Amelia Twellmeyer, 51. Mark, welcome to the board. Amelia, we welcome your contributions in the future. I know that you volunteered to help with the parade, and we look forward to that. The last section of our agenda, yes, the last section of the agenda, is public comment. Recognizing that we at least at one time or another had 148 people here, I'm going to ask that your public comments be limited. I ask you to be succinct, and I reserve the right, in the interest of winding up the meeting in a timely manner, so I reserve the right to say thank you and move on to the next for public comment. Jim Hannes, your hand went up first. Go ahead.
Cindy had mentioned that maybe we should hear from the candidates before we vote. Maybe the board can look at in the future that we could hear from the candidates before we vote.
So in next year's election, and there will be 2 seats, and in years past, ballots were taken at any time, and you are welcome as a voter to hold your ballot until you've heard from the candidates, which we did have at the outset of the meeting, and then submit your ballots.
It's on the agenda. The candidates were on the agenda to then vote after that.
Indeed. Thank you, Brian. So, point taken. Other public comment? Roger.
I forgot in my report to mention for the White Christmas show at the Fireside Theater, we need to get RSVPs in soon, so if you can get that to me by Labor Day, I would appreciate that. I'll be sending out a reminder, I'll put something on the website, but if you could by Labor Day for the White Christmas show at the Fireside, I'd appreciate that, thank you very much.
Lacey.
Absentee ballots, that's something you should have used.
No. And I'm sorry to give you a flat no. I've done a fair amount of research on election law, both the bylaws and the statutes. And I believe the statutes specifically say for lake management districts that there is no voting by proxy, there is no absentee ballot. Must be present to vote. And yes, we did go to council to make sure so that if the question came up, as I frankly anticipated it would, that I can speak with confidence, having done my due diligence. Sorry. It's bylaws, it's statute.
How do we go about changing it? Because people get literally a COVID thing, but it's not like that.
What did she say?
Accommodations for COVID the past few years, and now we live on a lake that are even outside.
If one must, or one seeks to change a statute in a state, one starts with the legislature. I'm not a Wisconsin attorney. Brian, help me out, my friend. Is this just plain civics, that if you're dealing with a statute, it's got, the change has to come from the legislature?
Power of the people, yes.
Here's your answer.
I'm videotaping this meeting, and I have shared what I videotape, and never edit what I record. So the reason I'm doing this is because there have been many situations where when Winona is on an agenda and it's not a public meeting, she doesn't show up. That's happened several times. She also does not necessarily lie, but she leaves out facts often. And one of the other things that is happening is if we go with this airport modification and we have a substation here with Kettle Moraine Fire District, there are many costs that will be associated with it. Having been in construction, having been in acquisitions and understand this, you're looking at costs that are double what she's going to pay to Kettle Moraine Fire District or the village of Palmyra. It's got to be modified. People don't realize that the airport where this has to happen is in the village of Palmyra. Nothing can be built there without a building permit, and they cannot get the building permit from anybody but the village. So bad-mouthing the village constantly on her behalf is not a good solution. One of the reasons this is taking a long time is that the town never has really tried hard to get along with the village. They still aren't, and it's factual. So if you want to see the videos, give me your email address if you're not getting them already. Those are only facts. I have no dog in this fight. It's your tax money, and you can spend it any way you like.
Peter. I got asked to be on this committee. I thought he's gonna. Pete, someone says go to the mic.
Where we told on a rat.
Eileen reminds me to introduce to anyone who doesn't know the Venerable Peter Sommerhauser as a member of the committee. Venerable friend.
I don't know if venerable is good or bad, but I was asked to be on the committee, and I was told it was going to be a relatively simple process. We were going to renew the contract with the village, and that was going to be it. So, those are the kind of committees I like to volunteer for. 8 months later, having been to driving from Milwaukee to Eagle and to Palmyra Village board meetings, the first contract we got was one that was a substantial increase in cost, really doubling the cost, plus paying for capital improvements. So we went to the village, and I went to the meeting, the village board meeting, and the village board members told me, "Why are you here asking questions? You don't ask questions when you get the garbage contract. Why are you asking questions for the EMS and fire?" And I tried to tell them that maybe that was a little different than the garbage contract, but they told me, take it or leave it. And that was the response. And we would have had a contract, and we were ready to negotiate, but that was their position. So that caused us to go explore other alternatives. And frankly, when you go and explore other alternatives, you find out quickly that the village services are not going to continue long term. They're at their limit for raising money. They're spending a considerable amount of money, and they can't get staff and equipment. So if you look around the state, there's a lot of fire departments, EMS departments that are consolidating because you got to provide the service and you have to get the people, and the village can't do that. So we did talk to a number of them, and we finally ended up with Cal Moraine willing to take us. We're now negotiating the final terms of the contract. Ultimately, my feeling is, and it's been confirmed by attempts to discuss further with the village, is that they will be doing the same thing down the road because it's not sustainable. So, and despite what Jim Rowland says, I tried to get Winona to run for Congress because she does everything for the good of the residents of the town. I mean, she is relentless in trying to pursue what's right for the town. And because of this, she's now talking about not running anymore, and I'm trying to encourage her to run, if not for the town board, for Congress, because she is really a true representative of the people of this town and of the lake. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood what was happening and why it was happening. And I live here, I've been here, I don't know, my wife reminds me, 35 years. I started when I was 10. But she reminds me that, we have to look out for each other, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. And long term, I think the town and the Lake District will be better served by the association with the Kettle Moraine Fire District. So I just wanted to make sure that it was clear. Thank you.
Other public comment?
First of all, thanks to the board for everything you do and all the people volunteering for Ski Club. I just had a question as far as like protocol on changing hours. Not that I'm against or for, but I know that there have been hours that were changed by a big vote, and then there were other hours that were changed that it just went through the board. So if you could just kind of clarify that.
Dick, I think you've got a better memory of this than I do. Do you mind taking this question?
Years ago, our voting hours were Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Fast voting was from 10 until 4 o'clock. Wednesday was 10:30 until 7. And Friday and Saturday were 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That had been in place for quite a long time, long before our time here. We moved to the lake in '92. I want to say around the year 2000, voting hours were changed, and we went on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I will point out that was done illegally at an informational meeting by a vote of the people that were present at the time. We are not allowed to do business at the informational meeting, but it happened and we've been living with it. To change voting hours now would take a motion at this meeting, for example, from the floor with specifics, which then could be put to a vote, or you could petition the board, and any member of the board could make a motion to change the voting hours. In the past, we had to have the approval of the town board to do virtually anything with the lake. That is not the case anymore. They, and I want to say this happened maybe in about 2008, the board transferred their authority to lake management issues, including voting hours, to the Lake Management District Board. So we are in control. In the past, it wasn't a problem. They pretty much did what we recommended anyway. So now we have local control and we can make those changes ourselves. So again, it would take a motion at the annual meeting like this from the floor for a vote, or you could suggest to a board member, or a board member could make a motion to change those hours and the board will vote on it. The board does have the authority. And we'd have to check if a vote here would be advisory to the board, and I think that would be the case, or whether it would be binding. I'm not
So
sure.
the answer is the board has total control.
Not total control, but yes, it would take a board vote. Okay.
Other public comment?
Yeah, let me just give one, since I was the town chairman and the president of what was then the association. And that was 1970. And that's why I